growth.
Yes, bad, but not as bad as had been expected. Those new figures from China, 7.4%, the magic number for the first quarter of this year. Economic growth, it's an annualised rate that's the lowest seen in 18 months, but still slightly more than had been expected. You can see how the evolution of that growth has been over the past year. It does represent a slowdown in the world's second largest economy and a challenge for the Chinese government, which is aiming for growth of 7.5%. We'll be seeing if they'll react to that.
Okay, any reaction on the markets?
Nothing dramatic anyway on the Asian markets. Shanghai and Hong Kong both managing to stay in positive territory in trading today, but the star performer in Asia is the Nikkei, which closed up over 3%. This mainly driven by SoftBank, whose shares soared after reports from the Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba that their earnings had jumped towards the end of 2013. SoftBank owns 37% of that company.
And Alibaba is actually making headlines for other reasons as well today.
Yeah, that's right. The Reuters news agency says its long-awaited stock market debut could be announced as early as next week. The IPO, set to take place in New York, could be worth as much as $16 billion, similar to that of Facebook. Alibaba is often thought of as China's answer to Amazon, saw its revenues soar by 2/3 at the end of 2013. Profits at Credit Suisse have fallen by almost a third in the first quarter of this year. The lender says its business was affected by a challenging market, particularly in its investment banking division. The news will put Credit Suisse boss Brady Duggan under more pressure to make cuts, particularly to its trading business. And the world's third largest retailer, Tesco, has reported a 6% fall in trading annual profits for last year of around €4 billion. Like-for-like sales were down 1.4% over 2013. The company says its earnings were hit by weak consumer sentiment and continued tough competition on the high street.
Okay, now we're going to take a quick look at a new report that's come out into the cost of payments made by migrant workers from Africa back home. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, remittance payments, they're known as a very important part of the African economy, it has to be said. Those payments from overseas, you say, from emigrants who pay back to their home country. This study by the Overseas Development Institute claims that Africans are paying a super tax of almost $2 billion a year on the cost of those money transfers. Their figures say that the average cost of transferring money to sub-Saharan Africa was 12% higher than the global average of 7.4%. That's partly due to the main players in that market, Western Union and MoneyGram. They're the two biggest firms operating in that area. These payments are a very important part of the African economy. Foremost among the recipients of these remittance payments is Nigeria. They took in $21 billion last year, according to the World Bank. The firms say that they have to cost more to transfer money from these areas because of the increased regulation from the EU and US.
Okay, right. Well, here in France, you might think being young and unemployed is bad enough, but it looks like there could be some more bad news on the way with a controversial proposal to change the minimum wage for young people.
Yes, at the moment, France's minimum wage is the same no matter what age you are, but with youth unemployment remaining high, the main business lobby group has suggested lowering the minimum wage for young workers to try to help them get a job. A particularly controversial proposal, as Catherine Clifford now explains.
A new plan to reduce youth unemployment. France's main business lobby wants to cut the minimum wage.
It's better for someone to work, even if it's a bit below the minimum wage temporarily during a transitional period, rather than be unemployed. We have to put everything on the table. Nothing can be taboo.
Guterres found an unexpected ally in the former head of the World Trade Organization, Pascal Lamy.
At this level of unemployment, we have to move towards more flexibility and to levels that are not necessarily at the current minimum wage.
At the job centre, young people were divided.
If it's below the minimum wage, given you've got rent, food shopping, no.
That could help to encourage bosses to hire more young people. We should try it, so long as it's not abused.
There is one minimum wage for people of all ages in France. It currently stands at €1,445. That's a bit more than in Germany, below that of Ireland, and much higher than in Spain and Portugal. The Workers' Party is among those who are opposed.
If I follow the logic of Mr. Gassas, he might as well take on slaves. He won't pay them at all, and that way he'll be competitive.
Two previous attempts to shake up youth employment triggered mass protests. On both occasions, the proposals were withdrawn. On Tuesday, the French government said it too is opposed.
All right, thanks very much. Stephen Carroll there with the business news. We're going to move on now to web news with a message for drivers tempted to use their camera phones while they're driving. But first, let's find out how help is being galvanised online for victims of the giant fire in Valparaiso in Chile.
The forest and hilltop homes in Valparaiso covered in huge flames and thick black smoke. This amateur footage filmed over the weekend bears witness to the scale of the deadly fire raging through Chile's historic port city since Saturday. It's caused widespread damage. Thousands of families have been forced to flee their homes and have been living in shelters over the past few days. A number of flyers have been posted to Twitter under the Fuerza Valpo hashtag, explaining most of these displaced residents have lost everything and are in urgent need of food, water and clothing. Information shared by charities and organisations that are making online appeals for donations and volunteers. And as we can see from these photos, people have responded to the pleas for aid. The shots were taken during Operation Twitterus Solidarius, a basic necessities drive for victims organised by a Valparaiso-based web user on Sunday. Google has set up a site providing real-time updates for those affected, a platform that web users can also contribute to. It features a map locating collection centres and emergency shelters in Valparaiso and also the capital, Santiago. Taking a selfie while driving. It's very dangerous and is currently proving extremely popular on social networks. Drivers posing for slightly staged or spur-of-the-moment shots and then posting their pic to Instagram or Twitter, generally under the driving selfie hashtag. Public authorities and road user associations in the UK and US in particular have voiced strong concerns and are urging motorists to be more responsible and cautious when behind the wheel. As the Daily Mail reports on its website, 1 in 14 drivers in Britain has admitted to taking a selfie while driving. Basing its figures on a recent survey conducted by the site Confused.com, the British Daily says the craze is particularly popular among 18 to 24-year-olds, with 11% saying they've taken a photo of themselves whilst on the road. Car manufacturer Ford has produced this video posted to Facebook last week to show these selfie devotees that what they're doing is just as dangerous as talking on the phone while driving, and urges young drivers to keep their eyes on the road and their hands on the wheel. A number of police officers have also taken to the web urging caution. In this ad produced last month, a cop from the Florida Police Department says taking a selfie while driving can have terrible consequences. A growing trend which she says is extremely reckless and should be severely punished.
I'm Captain Raz from your Florida Highway.
As part of Batman's 75th anniversary celebrations this year, DC Comics has released this animation short featuring the Caped Crusader. Produced by Bruce Timm, Batman Strange Days is available to view on YouTube and pays tribute to the earlier adventures of our superhero back in the 1940s.
Some good old-fashioned vintage fun rounding off web news there. Coming up, we've got a special report for you on how Algerians living here in France are hoping to make an impact in the presidential election back home. Stay with us for that.